Welcome to the Shellonomics Podcast, your source for pure Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles entertainment, presented by King Mictus.
Alright guys, we are in the home stretch of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Archie comic adventures from the 90s. We're joined once again by our good friend, TMNT comic expert, TMNTTALK Christian. Christian, now, I don't know if you know this, but which one came first? Because the issue we're going to break down first is issue 62. It's a little mini-series, and those outfits look very familiar to a Season 8 episode in the OG cartoon.
Yeah, absolutely. Because this is the start of the Cyber Samurai saga. And yes, the Cyber Samurai, if you're familiar with the classic cartoon and the classic toy line, you heard this before. And these are like this Ninja Turtles in this cyber armor, this cyber Iron Man style armor. And yeah, it's very interesting because in the cartoon, it was in the 8th season, was the Cyber Turtles episode. And here, and this means this is around, it must be around the same time. So it's like they both had the storyline where they like to promote the action figures. It's very interesting how sometimes this works, because both is in 94, so there must be like, I don't know, maybe 2 months between these two, so I can't be sure what was first. I think the cartoon was first, but it was close. Yeah, but still very different storyline here.
Oh God, yeah, we have Hitler's brain coming back again. I know that's going to be mentioned in these next 5 issues. That's in there. You got I thought these were, again, this is just like you were saying in our last episode, Christian, this was like their last hurrah. They kind of knew Turtles were going down to Power Rangers and X-Men, and just, you know, it was, at the time it's ran its course. I mean, to have a show go, you know, they were going on their 8th season, that's a long time for a cartoon back then. Besides The Simpsons at that time, they were one of the longest running shows on national TV out here. So feel free to take us through this 5-parter.
Yeah, this is, as I said, the Cyber Samurai saga, which goes from 62 to 66. Yes. And this is complete story in the future. We see the Turtles of the future that we met before. And yeah, the Turtles here, they have upgraded. They now have Cyber Samurai armor, which is pretty much the armor that we know from the action figures. And they can fly around and do cool stuff. We also meet some new characters. I mean, Verminator X is back, and he's causing trouble. And and we run into some new characters, like Raphael has a new girlfriend who is called a Mascol, and she's also some kind of mammal mutant. So Raph really got a type there with like some kind of, I don't know, it's a fox or something. Anyway, yeah. Anyway, there's also a new bad guy, an alien called Craniac, that comes to Earth and teams up with Terminator X. And we find out that there's an asteroid heading towards Earth, which will destroy it. And during all this, as you mentioned before, we have Hitler's brain, because I remember way back in the Future Shock trilogy, there was the time slip generator, and Armagon used some parts to power up the time slip generator, and one of these parts was Hitler's brain. And this brain pretty much becomes sentient and activates the time slip generator to go back in time, meet up with his younger self in 1945, meets up with Hitler. The Turtles go after him to stop this brain-causing chaos in the timeline. And this is where the famous moment that like everyone shares over the internet, when Raphael punches Hitler in the face. This comes from this storyline. And once again, as I said before, these comics, they get pretty dark, because the Turtles, when they meet Hitler, they act like, hey, we're demons, we're coming for your soul. And Hitler's like, no, I'm not giving you my soul. And, he shoots himself in the head And yeah, once again, this is no longer a kids comic. And yeah, then we have this fight because this alien, as I mentioned before, Craniac, came to Earth because he wants to harvest brains because he sells them to alien creatures that cannot dream for themselves. It's totally crazy. And yeah, as I said, Vermintide X teams up with them, Turtles fight them, and in the end, Craniac escapes, and Raph and Vermintide X, they have a standoff, and Raph is pointing a gun at Vermintide X, and it's like, yeah, you're the hero, you're not gonna shoot me, and bam, Raph shoots him straight in the face, and yeah, pretty much kills him, but Donatello is able to repair him in the end, so Vermintide X, aka Manx, gets like a kind of a happy ending because he is finally able to work together with Donatello again, and he's back to his nice self that he was when he was working with Donatello, and they're able to destroy the asteroid, so Earth does not get destroyed, and yeah, in the end, it works out, but it's a wild future, it's a crazy future, and yeah, it's just, I just love it. It's really a cool storyline. I'm a big fan of that.
It's a very interesting one. So the only two things that come to mind is the Austin Powers Dr. Evil spot with Dr. Evil. You shot me, you a-hole. That's kind of what I thought with Raphael, because I was like, wow, how in the world did the writers and it's funny because as you've been mentioning throughout this entire time we've been doing the Archie comics, Leonardo hates guns. So what are your thoughts with Raphael actually pulling the trigger? He's like, this had to be done. Nobody else was going to do this but me, pretty much was his mindset here.
Yeah, I see where Raph is coming from because, it's the whole thing with Batman. Batman defeats the bad guys, beats them up, but they come back later to cause chaos, to kill people, to be evil. So Raph is really now 100 years in the future. He became really even more cynic, and he's like, hey, we have to stop the bad guys because he will come back, he will cause chaos again, and so bam, shoots him. He had the moment, he had the chance, and he did it. And yeah, it's, as you said, the others wouldn't have done it. Mikey would have done it, Donnie, and especially not Leonardo. So Raph is the only one's like, hey, and the others are really, you did this? How could you? And he's like, hey, I had to do it. I know it's hard, but this is the world we are living in right now. So yeah, as I said, it's really some dark stuff there, but it's just so great how this series, the Archie comics, they grew up with the readers over the years. Because if you think like when the comic started was 89, so it's like 6 years later. So think about if you were a 10-year-old kid when the comic started, and at 95 you were 16, you would love this stuff. It's like, yeah, give me some dark and gritty stuff. I can work with this. I can deal with this, and that's why I'm such a big fan of this series, because it just grew up with its readers, and yeah, that's pretty cool, I guess.
Yeah, no, it makes sense to me too. There was also another thing in these where, again, like you say, this is slowly starting to just get very eerie and mysterious here. So there's also a little backstory in these comics, if you guys do read them all the way, with April and an angel. How did you like this, and what in the world was going on here?
Yeah, it's like a backup story that takes us to the future of 1999. Because I remember this comics came out in 95, so it was the future back then. And yeah, April hears about this guy who is presenting on like a Broadway. He's presenting a real life angel, and of course, April is like, as a journalist, she's like, I don't think this. I'm gonna check it out, and she really sees an angel, Gabriel, an angel, and later, so she sneaks in as a ninja and frees the angel, and yeah, leaves April behind, which is it's New Year's Eve, and it's the start of a new year, and the angel is like, hey, something about there's beauty everywhere, but you have to find it. And so she leaves April behind with this, like, okay, do with this what you want. It's a pretty interesting story. Like, a real angel? Really? What does this mean that, like, God as a physical being exists in this universe? Or I don't know. It brings up so many questions, but it's very interesting. As you said, it's really kind of philosophical.
Yep.
Yeah, it's just something to think about.
Yeah, little and again, they thought he was bluffing that other man, saying he had a real angel, and it's like, no, he did, according to this universe. Yeah. So very, very interesting. But next, we've got some stuff going on here, some sad stuff that was actually foreshadowed earlier on with a lovey-dovey relationship. And it's funny sometimes where even if you know something's going to happen, you still cannot prevent things, as we slowly start getting into there with Raphael and Ninjara. And we're coming near the end of our Archie series with the 72 issues. Take it away for issue number 67.
67 is the start of the Moon Eye saga. Once again, this is a 4-part series from 67 to 70. And in the storyline, the Turtles and April and Ninjara, they take a trip to Alaska, and you see from the start that there's a rift appearing between Ninjara and Raphael, because they were a couple, they were fine, they were in love, everything was cool. But as you said, you got the feeling that something's gonna happen. I mean, if you remember, future Raphael told present day Raphael, hey, don't mess it up like I did. I messed it up with Ninjara and we broke up. And here is like really the moment, like when Ninjara is like, I don't know about my feelings with Raphael. And so they take this trip to Alaska, and there they run into some wolf people that exist there, because Ninjara's, how should I put it, a clan is fox people from Japan, and they are wolf people. And Ninjara is very interested in this leader guy of the wolf people called Mutation. And Raph is immediately like gets angry and is like, hey, that's my girl, kinda. And then Ninjara even gets shot by a hunter, and Mukushan takes care of her. Raphael follows him, has his own little adventure there, and there are also some polar bears there who got into contact with some radioactive material, which made them grow very big and very angry. And but after all this craziness, it happens what must happen, and that's that Ninjara and Raphael, they have a talk. They talk about their whole situation. Ninjara wants to stay behind, wants to stay in Alaska as the others leave. And yeah, they share one final kiss, and then they say goodbye to each other. And this is pretty much the end of the big romance story, of the big story. I mean, Ninjara has been there for now a very long time, having adventures with the Turtles, hanging out with Raphael, and this is the end of their story, and this is the end of Ninjara's story. And yeah, as I said, it's pretty, very, very sad. But I gotta be honest, I just love this last moment when the Turtles leave and Raphael is really angry, and Mikey tries to cheer him up, like, hey, you know what to say. It's better to have loved and lose it, but to never loved before, or something like this. And Raphael just like, Mikey, shut up. And yeah, that's the end of that, and that's the end of that story. Yeah,
and that's pretty much it. And I even have in my notes here, once again in issue 69, Mike has a good idea about Raph to hide in the trees, and I even put, apparently I was just too tired of the dopey Mikey I've seen for the last 10 years. So it was nice to see Michelangelo had his upbeat self, but he also again had some brains here too. So a little disheartening to see Raph and Ninjara break up, because we don't know if they're ever going to get back together again. I don't think so, because this series is just about over. And while they do show up in these other, specials that we'll talk about, but maybe one day, my friend. But we've got 2 more left to go here, I believe, right? So feel free to break in the next one with these awesome turtle trench coats.
Yeah, this is the final storyline with issue number 71 and 72. And I gotta say, before IDW came in, this was the longest running TMNT comic series for a very, very long time, because 72 issues, that's very very good. And yeah, this is the story, how the turtles got their weapons. We see, once again, we get a flashback story where turtles are small. And we also find out that there's a dojo, and there's a young woman who is the sensei of this dojo, and she gets attacked by some bad guys. And Splinter, when he was still Hamato Yoshi, knows her, and he wants to help her with the help of the little turtles who are still in training. And all of them, they are using bow staffs. And they are fighting these bad guys who want to take over the dojo. They want to demolish it and use it for to sell it, But the turtles, they come in and they're able to beat them up, but they come back when they have this cybernetic armor, the bad guys, and so there's a big fight, and they are able to defeat them, but their bow staffs get broken, except for Donatello's. So the woman who recognizes Splinter as Hamato Yoshi, she's like, hey, thank you for helping me. Thank you for saving my life. And as a gift, as a thank you, I want to give you something from my dojo, some weapons. And so the turtles get their weapons, their trademark weapons. Raphael gets his sais, Leonardo's katana, and Michelangelo gets his nunchucks. And Donatello wants to use the boomerang. Yeah, he gets a boomerang. And Splinter then tells the story that later on he lost the boomerang and he went back to using the bow staff. So that's how the turtles in this universe got their weapons. And yeah, this is the final issue of the regular TMNT Adventure series, because it got cancelled after that. There should have been another story that was even advertised in the TMNT Adventures comics called The Forever War, but that never was made, and it would have involved time travel once again. It would have involved the Turtles from the Future and some other stuff, but that was never officially made because, as I said, the series got cancelled, and yeah, that's very unfortunate. But yeah, we still have some other stories that we have not talked about yet, but we're getting there. But the official stuff, the official TMNT Adventure series is really over 72 issues. That's very, very good.
Yeah, absolutely. And somebody must have been the last writer of issue 72 must have been a Donnie fan, because in order how he got the boomerang, he had to compete with the other turtles to have the rights to that weapon. And he's like, he lost it anyway. So, yeah, dude, what a wild ride that was. Phenomenal story. And if your hunch was correct because now Tails knew it was coming to an end, right? That's the one we covered a while back, and they knew it was coming. So they actually had time to get their closure. Unfortunately, the Adventure series did not, because if your hunch is right in regards to where it would have been a time travel, that could have been a shot to give us some closure with the Mutanimals before they died, the future Turtles again, a couple other guys. So that could have been a nice 5 or 6 parter too. Darn, it's unfortunate that didn't happen. But hey, like you say, 72 issues is a lot for a kid's comic.
Absolutely, yeah. And yeah, it would have been interesting. I mean, there was a fan project that was finished last year, if I remember correctly, where they actually released a book called The Forever War, and they really were able to finish up the storylines. They were finish up the TMNT Adventures universe. They were actually working together with the creative minds behind the TMNT Adventures, and they created a comic book called The Forever War, but that was no official product, so it was still great. It was still really, really good, and it brought closure to the series. But yeah, as I said, if you count it into the official timeline, that's your own thing. But yeah, we never got the official finale of the TMNT adventures, unfortunately.
Oh, we may have to add that for after this episode. I wanted to talk to you about our next one I'd like you to have cover, and maybe we'll throw that in there too, because I'll let you know on what we're doing for the next one. But anyways, you are the comic master here, and I say that humbly because you are very knowledgeable. So can you explain to our listeners who are listening to Shellonomics for the first time on YouTube or Spotify what specials are? Because I notice a lot of comics will do this. Is it to get like a celebration? Is it because they want to add another story? What's the mindset for these specials that the Turtles had and other comics do?
Well, there really was a line of TMNT Adventure specials that came out quarter yearly that were bigger issues. They had bigger. I should have put it bigger comics. I mean, most of them were two comics in one book. So it's this comes out to tell stories that, I mean, they mostly fit into the timeline of the TMNT adventures, but they're not in continuity of the current run. So they're like, hey, we just want to tell some TMNT stories and give the readers just some more TMNT adventures. So they created this TMNT Adventure Special Series. As I said, came out quarterly. And this one even came up to 11 issues. And I mean, there are also some other one-shots that we're going to mention. But the TMNT Adventure Special, they were just, I guess they were just there to tell more stories with these turtles. And they went even very wild. And some of these stories, they are problematic to fit into the continuity of the TMNT adventures because they really, I mean, if you just look at the TMNT adventures at the regular series, you see they're they have a storyline. They're always the same characters, but with the specials, you really get the feeling like, okay, you have a story to tell, do it. Do whatever you want, go crazy. And they really went wild. And so some of the stories, they are really, really wild and really out there.
They absolutely are. To me, a lot of these adventures, when you start breaking these down, to me, it reminded me like the cartoon. They were just like way more jokes in here compared to the original 72 issues. They go all over the place. Feel free to start us off with Adventure 1. And just one quick note here. On page 13 of this first issue, they kind of look like the old toys, like the artwork. Did you notice that too? Like the color shades of green? It reminded me of the original action figure, some of the looks.
Yeah, I see what you mean. They really have a unique art style there. And as I said, TMNT Adventure Specials, number 1 is, there are 2 stories in there. The first one is called If a Tree Falls, where the turtles, they run into this, how should I put it? This rich guy who is using robots to cut down a forest, which brings him into a fight with Bigfoots who are living in this forest. And the turtles, they are caught in this battle there. And the guy even has a little daughter who gets sick by radiation that's buried there. Once again, a lot of environmental stuff in these comics. And the little kid gets sick, but the Bigfoots help her, save her, and so they are able to make truce with these Bigfoots, and so that works out fine, which brings us straight into the second story called The Last Sea Serpent, where after this little adventure, they go on a boat trip, and there they run into a giant sea serpent, which is hunted by this this ship captain, who is this is pretty much a Moby Dick story. Like, he wants to get the sea serpent because she really hurt him, and he's got the cybernetic implants on him. And the turtles find out that the sea serpent is not really evil or anything, and they stop the captain from hurting her. And in the end, they go to they land on Hawaii, which then leads right into the TMNT Adventure Special number 2.
Yeah, which is a disheartening one because we even posted this in your Discord. There's an island with no video games. Pretty much a no fun zone, for if you ask me.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the story is called The Wrath of the Fire God, and as you said, the turtles land on this Hawaiian island where some people like try to get some tourists there, and other people, they want to live in peace. They don't need TV, they don't need video games or a pizza parlor or anything, and dude, let me off this island.
Yeah.
No video games? No, thank you. Yeah. Then this fire creature appears, which turns out to be some aliens called the Grem, who are causing trouble on this island. So there's a big fight with the turtles and these aliens, and the turtles are able to defeat the aliens, and they send them off the island and the planet, and so pretty much everything works out fine in the end again. Then we have the second story in this issue, The Ghost of 13 Mile Island, where the turtles and April investigate a ghost appearing in a laboratory. And some spooky stuff going on there, but it turns out that this ghost is not really a ghost. It's a professor who got zapped by a machine by his assistant, who was evil, and got zapped to a parallel dimension, which makes him kind of ghostly. And so, the bad guy is stopped for, trying to kill the professor. And, the turtles and the scientists, they want to work on creating the machine to bring the professor back to our world. And professor's like, hey, cool, I have time. It's pretty much fine. So that's pretty much the end of that story and that issue.
Oh my gosh. Well, we have number 3 coming up, which is right up your alley. Anytime I see spooks or Frankensteins and whatnot, I know it's TMNT talk. He's probably licking his chops when he starts reading. Feel free to share too. There's a cool Easter egg with 2 familiar names that most turtle fans would know on a headstone, and we also get the good old school let me tell you a story. Well, actually 2 stories in this adventure here.
Oh, absolutely. TMNT Adventure Special number 3. The first story is called The Night of Monster X, where Krang is using some kind of ray machine. Yeah, Krang is in this because, as I said, the stories, they are not in continuity. So this takes place before Krang was defeated. And this mutation ray shoots a TV in the turtles' lair, where the turtles are just watching a horror movie with some monsters, and it brings this monster to life, which is a fusion between Dracula, Frankenstein's monster, a werewolf, and the creature from the Black Lagoon, if I remember correctly. And this creature is causing chaos, and the turtles have to stop it because, it's causing trouble in the city. It has the power of 4 monsters. It's super strong. It's called Monster X. And, the turtles, they're actually not really able to defeat it because the sun comes up, and because the creature is part vampire, it hates the sun, it fears the sun, and escapes. And that's, for now, the end of Monster X. Which brings us into the second story, which is also like a spooky Halloween story called Monsters Are the Rage. And in this story, weird creatures and monsters start appearing in the city, and the turtles, they fight them, but they always disappear. It's really weird and crazy until the turtles find out that it's all because of a little kid who has nightmares, but he's got like this mutant brain that brings these nightmares into the real life. And then his mother comes in, and she's so sorry because she left her son alone a lot, and she was very angry with him, and all this this abuse built up inside of him and then it exploded out with these monsters. And to be honest, this is a very good story. This is a very interesting and sad story. And in the end, the mother realizes what she did and she wants to do better. So yeah, it's a very nice, happy end. And yeah, as I said, some very crazy monsters, and yeah, we might even say some like cameos in there. I mean, there's one scene where there's like a Chucky style Donatello creature in there. It's just wild, but to be honest, I really think the second story is a very good spooky story.
The 90s, as we both know, were the heart and soul of parodies, as we're going to see a lot more weird and parody characters to come. Just two other cool things. And this one I liked was there was a Peter Laird and Kevin Eastman like headstone in like one of the cover arts. I thought was pretty cool. And then for us Chicagoans, Mikey orders a Chicago stuffed pizza, and I just love in there where they're asking, what is a Chicago stuffed pizza? So being from Chicago, I thought that was pretty cool. My favorite turtle was asking for a Chicago style pizza. So GG's to the writers in that one. So the next one reminds me of like a Farmer Don, like that old toy, and this is the weirdest one of the bunch. I mean, these it's either zany or wonky is the word of choice for these adventures, because I have no idea where they're going. We had a nice, consistency in the original 72, and these are just like, let's just have some fun, and like you said earlier, let's just go crazy. Why not? People are still going to read them. It's Ninja Turtles. We can get away with it.
Oh yeah, that's TMNT Adventure Special number 4 is really one of the wildest because I mean it's a two-parter, but it's one big story overall where we meet Christopher Columbus' brother called Louis, who I try my best here to summarize the thing, because it's like he has this farm with all these farm animals, but he was in America, but he somehow got zapped into a different dimension. So every few years he gets zapped back to New York, and suddenly his farm appears in the middle of the city, in the middle of Times Square, and is causing chaos because suddenly like all these farm animals are running around, including two characters called Kid Cortex and Oxymoron, who are a goat and a bull, and when they are in New York, they drink some mutagen and become these mutant creatures. Like Kid Cortex becomes super smart and Oxymoron becomes super strong. And they don't want to go back to the farm, but they are convinced by Louis, like, hey, I love you, please come back. And yeah, they are fine now. But before they reach the farm again, it gets zapped back into its own dimension with Donatello. So, oh no, what's going to happen next? It's in the second part where the turtles, with the help of Cuddly, go to the farm, where they find out that it got taken over by a mutant pig. And they who hypnotized all the characters, including Donatello. So all these animals and Donatello, they fight the turtles, and everyone is working together to stop the giant pig. And it's really so cartoony and zany, especially in the end where the big it explodes, and it's not like, oh my god, it's blood and guts everywhere. No, this explodes into little tiny piggies, some cute little pigs, and as I said, it's like a Looney Tunes cartoon but with turtles. So okay, you can do this. Why not? It's just so crazy.
Yeah, these were just all over the place. So it's not that if you want to read them, fine. You would be. See, I guess that's the cool thing about these two. I say is most of these are not. I think the term is canon. So it's just if you're a Ninja Turtle fan and you want to get more turtle goodness, dive into these. But some of these are just going to make your head like, wait, what? So I would say if this was where the Archie series went as a whole, I don't think it would live up to how it's aged compared to what the adventures have been. Just in my opinion. Coming up next, though, we've got another kind kind of, I guess, another wonky one, but a nice iconic Shredder and Splinter, at least, artwork for those OG fans.
Yeah, TMNT Adventure Special number 5. The story is called Yo Ho Ho in a Bottle of Mutagen. And in this story, Leonardo runs into some bad guys, like some pirates with a submarine. And on the submarine are 2 mutant creatures, a pig and a dog. And the pig is actually pretty nice, but the dog is very aggressive. So Leonardo gets kidnapped by these pirates and gets brought to a mad scientist in Scotland. And the other turtles and Splinter and April want to save Leo. So they call to Man Ray for help. And so they follow the bad guys to Scotland, fight the bad guys, and yeah, are able to defeat them in the end. And then they are like, okay, we're now in Scotland. Let's stay there for a while. Let's check out what's going on in Scotland. So that's the end of issue number 5.
Yeah, it's kind of like a weird, just quick one, and most of these are going to be very quick. We're going to see a fellow who looks like a Disney character in issue number 6, and it's not the last time we see a parody of him. We're going to talk more about that when we get to Adventure 9, but that's Mickey Mouse in this issue, isn't it? Come on, it has to be in issue 6. You know who I'm talking about, right?
Absolutely. I know what you mean. So first in issue number 6, we have the Doomsday Heathland Banshee Castle, where the turtles are in Scotland, where we meet April's uncle, who is, Scottish. And there's also this castle that's haunted by some ghosts. And there's also somewhere in this castle hidden is a sword, which is very powerful. Then Shredder and Krang appear, and they want this sword. So there's a fight for it with these ghost creatures and the turtles. And April is able to find the sword, but she throws it into the Loch Ness lake, and so it's gone. Shredder and Krang get nothing out of it, and there's one little very cool action scene between Splinter and Shredder. You know, when they meet, it's always a good fight. You know it, and so Shredder and Krang leave, and Turtles, they are cool and in Scotland. But this brings us to the backup story, because in issue number 5 and issue number 6, there's a 2-part backup story called The Darkest Hour, where the turtles, they travel under beneath the city, and they find like this giant cave under there, where a mysterious sorceress called Mystia is, and she is able to use all the trash that's fallen down from the people above Earth, and she's using this trash to create trash monsters and creatures to fight the turtles, and she's able to capture April. And there's this riddle she has where the turtles have to find the key to save April, which then happens in the second part. And and the turtles then are able to defeat the sorceress, but she swears to be back someday. She will never come back. We'll never see her again. That's the end of that story. And that's the part that you wanted to mention, with the trash creatures, some familiar faces there.
My God, I don't know. It's just funny because it was just a different time, I guess. Maybe people still do it now. Like South Park does it all the time on television. So I take that back. They still exist. Just nobody, I guess. Hey, it's still publicity, I guess, for the good old Mickey Mouse. But number 7, lucky number 7, is back in your neck of the woods here with some more spooks.
Oh, absolutely. Where we have the return of Monster X. Yeah, the monster creature comes back. It must be sometime later in the storyline, because Ninjara is also there. And this is at this amusement park, and Monster X appears and is once again causing chaos. The Turtles and Ninjara fight the creature once again. And in the end, the turtles are able to trap the creature, but the sunlight comes up and it destroys the creature and it melts, and that's pretty much the end of Monster X. Then we have a second story in this issue called It Takes Guts, which is April's storyline, where she is hanging out with a police officer who is a friend of her, investigating some crazy stuff going on at the hospital because things are starting to get missing, like just stuff that people like some glasses and other belongings of people, and suddenly like the boy, the son of the police woman, also disappears. So they try to find him, and in the end it turns out that behind all this disappearing things is a creature, a mutant creature that was a fusion of different organs that were operated out of people, and they fused together with some radioactive material to create a living, breathing creature made of guts. And yeah, that's pretty cool. But he's cool. He's nice. April then takes him to Bookworm, who will remember this worm creature who is living under the city, and they become friends. And so yeah, everything turns out fine in the end. But yeah, we got a mutant made of guts. Just let that sink in.
Yeah. Hey, they've done everything else in this comic, like you say. Why the heck not? And the artwork too is just all over the place too. I don't know if they were just kind of passing it around, saying, "Hey, you try and see what you do." Because in the next one coming up, we get a different. It's cuddly, but he's a little different looking. And this issue number 8, it kind of reminds me of the Cartoon Network Johnny Bravo like style. It was hard to actually get into this one just because the artwork was just very not used to what I was seeing in the other issues, for me personally.
Yeah, it's pretty much like in issue number 4, this totally cartoony, goofy Looney Tunes style.
Correct.
Yeah, where, in this story, Cleaver's Critters, the turtles travel with, as I said, Cuddly, and they land in a different dimension where this little kid is who got, like, what's it called, a monster box or something, where he's sneezing all the time and he's creating these monsters by sneezing. And the townsfolk of this world, they don't like this anymore. They don't want to be troubled by these creatures again, so they start attacking. They're marching towards the home of this little kid, and the turtles they help them to stop this mob, which dresses up pretty much like the Ku Klux Klan, but anyway. There's of course a fight, but then the kid overcomes his sickness and is not sneezing up monsters again. So that's fine. Everybody is happy again until one of the turtles gets sick and starts sneezing up creatures. And that's the end of that crazy story. But there's a backup story here, which is Ninjara versus Mondo Dog Catcher, which, as I said, is total non-canon. Why is that? Because in this story, Ninjara runs into an old foe of hers called the Mondo Dog Catcher, who she remembers captured her when she was a normal fox before she got mutated. And that does not work out because Ninjara is not a mutant. That's a big goof up there. Ninjara is a fox is one of the Fox people. They are a clan of Fox people. They are not mutants. So this does not work out. But in the story, she confronts this guy who just runs around catching poor dogs, and she saves them with the help of Raphael in the end. And well, they beat up the dog catcher, so everything works out fine in the end. But as I said, it's totally non-canon because it cannot work in the TMNT Adventures universe with Ninjara.
Yeah, so I guess one question before we get into the last few. Why, with these specials, did they just go... Are specials more mainstream? Like, I don't know if you know, like, the numbers of comic sales, because I'm clueless. I'm just wondering, because you have a little more experience than I do, just why did they go so off the wall with these?
I cannot be 100% sure, but I think the thing is that like these creators came up to them and said, hey, we want to tell a story with the turtles. We have a cool story with the turtles. And they had the stories that cannot fit in the regular TMNT adventure storyline. So like, okay, we're doing this adventure special stuff where we can go pretty much wide and can do pretty much everything. It doesn't even have to fit into the canon. So I think that's the main reason. I mean, when this series started, which was 92, the Turtles was still pretty famous, pretty high on the Turtle Mania. So they're like, hey, if we're going to do more comics, well, we're going to sell more comics and we're going to make more money with this. So I think that's the main reason here that like, hey, we had the stories that we want to tell with the Turtles. Like, okay, let's go wild. Let's do this. Okay, you can do whatever you want. It does not have to fit into canon. So there's no problemo there. And yeah, I think that's the main reason here.
Okay, because yeah, I was just like, what in the... Maybe they were just trying to get a couple more action figures with these... wacky characters. But anyways, coming in issue 9, we get a little bit more cuddly and a little more Mickey Mouse. Why? Twice in this adventure specials. Like, did they just have something against Disney? I mean, well, I don't know the exact year, 'cause this is, I didn't think of this, but when did the Turtles go to Disney? Was it around this time, and that's why they were taking shots with Mickey Mouse? I mean, I'd have to get the writers on here, or the artists, to understand that. But once again, we see our good Disney friend in here, don't we?
Yeah, I think it must have been around the time where the Turtles, they appeared at the MGM studios in Disney World.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, and you know, with parodies, they can pretty much do everything and not get sued because, hey, it's just a parody.
Yeah.
We're cool. So yeah, just I'm taking shots at Mickey Mouse there. And yeah, that's TMNT Adventure Special number 9, where we meet a new character called Head Rush, who is this mole creature from another dimension, who is kind of reminded me of Mr. Mixix Billix or Mr. Ock from the classic cartoon, kind of, when he's got like this all-powerful kind of little creature. And yeah, Cuddly brings him to Earth, and he's working together with Splinter to teach the Turtles a lesson, because this mole creature, Head Rush, he brings the Turtles into like some traps, and he's playing games with them, and the Turtles, they have to work together to get out of there, and which they do. So the Turtles have to learn this lesson, like, hey, because the Turtles were fighting among each other a lot lately. So Splinter said, hey, you have to try to work together again. And yeah, with the help of this little Head Rush guy, the Turtles were able to work together to overcome all the obstacles that got in their way. And the second story, Be a Star, is also with Head Rush. And but I gotta mention that this story is very interesting because it was drawn by none other than Stan Sakai, who was the creator of Usagi Yojimbo. So yeah, nice little callback there. And in this story, the Head Rush is in another dimension, like causing some chaos for some Vikings, who then pretty much want to kill him. So the Turtles come to his rescue and help him. And yeah, that's pretty much the end of that story. It's just a short little story, but it's drawn by Stan Sakai. So in my book, that's a very good thing.
Yeah, that's a definite win. Just a nice little extra. Hey, come on in, man. You took good care of us with Usagi Yojimbo, and we got to see him in a lot of Turtle stuff, so why not? So coming up next, this one, at least for me, when I read it, I was like, okay, maybe this one's not going to be as weird. Maybe this will bring us back to the original 72 issues, because the artwork is great with Raphael and Ninjara. And we get a little taste of Turtles 3 with the samurai style on a page here, too, in issue 10.
Yeah, in this issue 10, there are pretty much 3 stories. Because first we have Foxtrap, where Raphael, Ninjara, and her brother Naga, they are on a trip in the woods. And they run into some fur traders who have captured some fox, and Naga also gets captured by them. So Raph and Ninjara, working together as a team when they were still a team, they are able to defeat these fur traders, these 2 bad guys, and save Naga. And yeah, that's pretty much the end of that story. Why these 2 fur traders dressed up like cavemen, I have no idea. But yeah, they are bad guys, so they have to have some kind of gimmick or something. I don't know. Then is the second story, Zen Million Years to Birth, which is... it's kind of hard to summarize because the turtles, they are out in the desert for some training where, as you said, they are using some samurai armor, which looks pretty cool, gotta say. Then they meet this guy who digs up a spaceship, and then some aliens appear causing trouble, including some kind of humanoid cactus that attacks the turtles. So there's a fight there, and then this guy who dug up the spaceship gets turned into some kind of crystallized samurai creature, and the turtles fight him. And well, in the end, the turtles are triumphant and are able to defeat the bad guys. It's wild. It's kind of wild story. But then we have a very nice story, in my opinion, which is The Perfect Evening, where Raph and Ninjara just want to have a nice date night with each other. But well, pretty much everything goes crazy, everything goes wrong. Well, like they run into some robbers, and they have to help a little kid with her kitten that got lost, and Raph gets swept away in the sewers, and so in the end, Raph is really sorry that this did not work out the way he wanted, but in the end, Raph and Ninjara just hanging out in the sewers, just eating pizza, and Ninjara is actually pretty happy. It's like, hey, this is perfect. This is just the little things in life. So yeah, it's just a nice little, cute little story there for Raph and Ninjara.
Especially with the heartbreak that they had to go through at the end of this entire run. So it looks like we have, oh my gosh, dude. So we are just about getting to nitty gritty. So we're going to close out the specials here with one more with a birthday for somebody. I think this is the second time that Splinter's birthday is mentioned in this series, and a 5th turtle.
Oh yeah. The first 5th turtle is appearing in this adventure special number 11. And I just love this cover where we see this 5th turtle all in black, and it's like, who is this? Mysterious. Ooh, get this issue, buy it.
Yes.
And yeah, as you said, Splinter, it's Splinter's birthday again, and he talks about how he misses to be a human again. April finds out about this corporation that was able to create an anti-mutagen. So she investigates that one. And but she finds out that somehow the Grem are in this the alien creatures that we met in issue number 2 of the specials, and they are capturing April and her scientist friend, and they turn April, they mutate April into a mutant turtle. So yeah, April is the very first female mutant turtle ever. Remember that?
Yeah.
And then the Gram, they mutate one of their own into like this ultimate Gram, like this giant Gram creature. And the Turtles and April and co, they team up to defeat this. They are able to do that, but in the end, there's only one vial of anti-mutagen left, and they use it to transform April back into a human. But like they have this discussion, like, okay, should we use it for Splinter so that he can be human again? But in the end, it's April who gets turned back into a human. So yeah, that's the end of the story of the fifth turtle, of the fifth female turtle. And there's also there's once again like a backup story there, which goes back to the goofy stuff, because like the turtles, they fight like this mad scientist in the story who has like this ziplock machine where he wants to zip up the whole world, and the turtles they go there and try to stop him, and that's pretty much it. Just once again a pretty goofy story, pretty cartoony story. But yeah, for this issue, the fifth turtle story, that's the good one. That's the cool one. I really like that one.
Yeah, and so for me, this is why I've been enjoying this Shellonomics journey here, Christian, because I would have got that wrong. If you were to ask me a trivia question, true or false, who is the first female turtle? You could put Venus de Milo, Jenica, or April. And unless you read these comics, everybody who would have probably put Venus, but you would have gave us an it's actually April O'Neil. So that is some fantastic trivia there. I can't wait to stump one of my friends, and I'm going to come back to you and tell him I got him because of this issue right here. So, I think Peter Laird was against Venus. Remember we talked about that when we broke down that, but here, I don't think he might. I don't know him personally, but I'm guessing he wouldn't have minded it because it was April, somebody who's been involved in the Turtles for a long time, and it was just a quick, almost like a one-off,
Yeah, absolutely. Because in the end, April gets demutated, so it's like in the classic cartoon when April was turned into a cat, was turned into a fish, was turned into a wasp. So here she gets turned into a turtle. But yeah, it's not. She doesn't stay a regular turtle, so I don't think that Peter Laird would have had a problem with that.
Yeah, something just quick, a nice little shocker for our reading pleasure, and get back to having just the 4 heroes in a half shell. So, all right, we've got some more funky ones here with the TMNT meeting Archie.
Yeah, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles meet Archie, which was a one-shot special. And first off, I gotta say, I'm not that into Archie, so I don't know pretty much anything about it. I know it's like I know who Josie and the Pussycat are and stuff like this, but I've never read an Archie comic in my whole life besides that one.
Same here.
Yeah, where the turtles with Cuddly, they get transported to Archie's universe, and they meet all these kids, meet all these characters, and this rich daughter Veronica gets kidnapped by some bad guys for money, and the turtles and Archie and company, they team up to save her, which in the end they do, and then they have a big pizza party, and that's pretty much that story. But there are 2 backup stories in this that I want to mention. The first one is I'm not sure if it is the first one, but one of them is a short little story where which takes us back to after Bubbler died. If you remember, Man Ray's little friend, and the turtles, they are still there in Brazil. And then suddenly, like, this ghost ship appears, and the turtles fight some skeleton pirates. But April and Man Ray, they are able to lift the curse, and the pirates, and the ship, it falls, breaks down, and so everything works out fine in the end. And the second story is the origin story of Man-Moth that we've met before, but this is like the first canon story, continuity-wise, where like Shredder mutates this caveman that he found, and he gets turned into Man-Moth, and doesn't understand what's going on. It goes crazy, so the turtles confront him, and then Bio and Rocksteady come in, and Man-Moth falls into the lake and apparently drowns. We know that he did not drown. He appears later on, but yeah, leaves behind some very sad turtles. So yeah, these are the 3 stories in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Meet Archie.
Yeah, what's cool too is Donatello even says in one of those little things, not a Kodak moment. So I like that little 1990 movie reference there. Oh my gosh. And now we've got one that you actually will be sure to plug your channel later, but I know I've been checking you out on your Instagram, and I believe you recently covered this one that we're going to be talking about here. The Conservation Corps.
Yeah, that's it's so funny that like we have this cross promotion. We're talking on 2 different podcasts about the same issue. It's funny how that works out sometimes. Yeah, it's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Meet the Conservation Corps, which is pretty much an origin story of these characters called the Conservation Corps. So you might call it like a backdoor pilot. Like, yeah, we have a turtle story, but we're introducing some new characters, and then they're gonna have their own comic story. And well, the Conservation Corps, they are like these characters, these animal characters with superpowers. Pretty much Captain Planet style.
Yep. Got that in my notes
like
too.
This,
exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. It was the times. What the 90s? We had these things. Yeah. And yeah, there's like this water buffalo who can control water, like Firefly controls fire. Stone Hedgehog can control earth. And Greenhorn is a rhino who can control a plant life. And yeah, they team up with the turtles to stop an evil mutated duck creature called Oily Bird, who is able to control oil and is causing pollution. And yeah, the turtles team up with them and they fight him, and because he's causing all these oil leaks all over Earth. So, but in the end, they're able to defeat Oily Duck and, transport him off to another world with the help of Cuddly. That's pretty much the story. We get introduced to his new characters. At the end of the story, there's like, yeah, you gotta find your 5th member that's been missing. So it's like, oh, this is like just the origin story of these characters. And then they're gonna jump straight into their own comic series, which actually happened. They had a 3-part story. So yeah, they only had 3 comics. So I guess it did not work out that well. But yeah, it's mostly, as I said before, it really, this comic feels like a Captain Planet story. Like, oh, there's evil creature causing pollution in the oceans, and the turtles, they have to team up and stop him and clean up because you gotta save the planet and all that usual stuff. But yeah, that's TMNT Meet the Conservation Corps.
Very, very bizarre story. And again, for those who are not familiar with them, I thought that was Rocksteady because they had a rhinoceros as one of the characters too. And I said, what's Rocksteady doing here? I was like, because again, when we read the original adventures, they were out happy in a random island, being naked, walk around with leaves by their private parts. So I thought it was Rocksteady just for a brief moment. So, oh boy, as you like to say, coming up, we have our finale of the Archie series in a trilogy, and it's kind of funny how things just go even flow. First, we were the franchise that everybody was making fun of in TV shows and parodies like the Muppet Babies they were in a couple other cartoons. And now the tide is turned with the newest big hit in the 90s, Go-Go Power Rangers. We've got something very similar in this first issue in this trilogy you're about to talk about.
Yeah, this is the start of the Year of the Turtle, which is a storyline that came out in 96. And as you said, these were the last comics put out by TMNT Adventures, by Archie Comics. And yeah, in this storyline, in the first issue, the Shredder is back and he wants to get his hands on 3 parts of a talisman that will give him infinite power. Like it can grant one wish and he wants to be all powerful, the usual stuff. And the Turtles, of course, they want to stop him. But in this issue, they want to get their hands on one of the talisman to stop Shredder, and one of the talisman is actually on a belt of a Power Raider, who are obvious parodies of the Power Rangers. Because, 96, these were the times when the Power Rangers were still very big. And, so the Turtles fight these actually guys in costumes, they are actually able to defeat them, but Shredder with some new henchmen gets his hands on one part of the one part of this talisman, and so in the end he has 2 talismans and he needs 3. So Turtles then have to race to this temple in the Himalaya where the 3rd part is. Once again, a big fight with some kung fu monks. Meanwhile, Shredder is using the power that he has with the talisman that he already has to destroy a whole army by himself. Pretty wild. Shredder is really impressive in there. One thing I forgot to mention is that Splinter was actually transformed back into a human by the power of this talisman. He got demutated, but he still works together with the Turtles to stop Shredder, because also by this power of the talisman, Michelangelo gets transformed into a normal, regular turtle again. So the Turtles now have to finally stop Shredder, get their hands on the talisman to bring Michelangelo back. There's a big fight with Shredder, and the Turtles, this talisman is completed, and Shredder is about to make him all powerful, but the talisman lands on the little turtle Michelangelo, and he can now grant a wish, and this little turtle thinks of nothing other than a pizza. And then he gets a pizza, and Shredder gets nothing, which drives him mad. So, he's finally out of the picture after this story. And, he gets... In the end, we see that Michelangelo is slowly growing up again to become a full Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle again. But by now he is still a little kid turtle, and but he will grow up again to be a teenage turtle again in the future, so to fight another day. But this is really it. This is really the final TMNT adventure story, and I guess it works. It works as okay, we're gonna tell one more story, and to finish it up, bring Shredder back again to have one final fight, and it's very cool. It's very, I like the art in this one, and it could have gone on after this, in my opinion. There could have been more stories okay, this is just a miniseries to start a new series or anything, but that never happened. So if this is the final issue of TMNT Adventures, and I guess we now have to say goodbye to a very, very cool series.
Yeah, and it's interesting because in that new trilogy that you were about to read with the Power Raiders, there's a little note in there with one of the writers saying, And I quote, and 11 years later, it's still going strong with this new number one. No, it won't change the world as we know it, but I personally believe in the project you hold in your hands right now, and after reading this issue, I hope you will believe in it too. Unfortunately, people didn't believe farther than issue 3. I liked Shredder in this a lot too. It reminded me more of the 1990s movie, didn't it? You like the kind of like the colors he had?
Yeah, with the red colors, and in this issue there's even a mention of a very famous TMNT character that did not actually appear in this series back then. If you know who I mean.
Yeah, which I can't believe. We talked daily on the site anyways, but we were, I mean, for me reading this first, like, wait, so they mentioned Casey Jones, but he's never drawn in any of the 72 nor any of the specials, just mentioned in the final issue. So it took him all the way to, maybe like this is like 100 and something if you count all the April miniseries and the Donatello, Leatherheads, and Mutanimals. So over 100 issues, and they're like, yeah, let's at least throw his name in there. So any reasons why Casey was not here? I mean, it's not that he wouldn't have fit in. Did they just want to break from him? What are your thoughts? Just your own.
I cannot be sure. I think he. How should I put it? It sounds a little mean, but I don't think that he was needed in there. I mean, for a long time, the Turtles they had Ninjara with them on their adventure, who was like the fifth member of this team. So, and April was also there. So it's like Casey was not really missed in the stories. But the funny thing is that, if you may remember, last year when there was the 4th anniversary, IDW put out a 4th anniversary special with all these short stories from all these different TMNT universes. Like there were some Mirage stories and IDW stories and 2012 stories, 2003 story, and so on and so forth, all these short stories. And there was also Archie Comics short story, where Raphael and April run into a guy who turns out to be Casey Jones. So it's like 30 years later, Casey gets thrown into the TMNT adventure. So it seems like he was in the stories. He existed in this universe, but you never saw him before. So, yeah. I thought that was always very interesting.
Yeah. So, as you say, this is the end of another era down here in Shellonomicsville. This is the end of the Archie era. Do you have any final thoughts for our listeners here, Christian? For me personally, I'm sorry I missed this as a kid. I'm glad I got to read it now and just enjoy these with you. As you called me out a couple times, I was just like, pretty much living in my 8-year-old, 10-year-old's body, reading these and getting hyped for just seeing the Turtles that I always visioned on TV. Season 1 of the 87 show, they have their weapons, they're doing their thing, and that's what they did in these comics. Pretty much what we got from the get-go of Turtles. Sure, the adventure specials were kind of wacky and funky, but the main story worked, and it is timeless, and as they said, it is an all-age comic. Gets a little crazy because there's some banned issues now, unfortunately, with some terms and parodies all over the place. We've had Power Rangers. We've had Charlie Llama, the Dalai Lama. They went to Solid. They had Wrestling Turtles. We had Mickey Mouse. Just the parodies go on and on. There was a Gremlin lookalike character in issue Adventure 11. So they're all over the place. And you say it all the time. Anything with Turtles for some reason works. And I do encourage all to check these out when you can. How about yourself?
Oh, absolutely. It's like, as I mentioned before, these were the very first TMNT comics that I've ever read, because they were also printed here in German, but not all of them. So I got to read them way later, like around 2000. I was able to read them all finally. But yeah, these especially the first 30 issues, they really feel nostalgic to me because these were the first TMNT comics. I read the Mirage comics later, the Image comics and everything that came after that I read later. So this really works as a great introduction to TMNT comics. When you were younger, hey, let's read some TMNT comics, because the first few issues, it's just so funny that the first few issues were adaptations of the classic cartoon. They were just meant to be the cartoon adventures, the cartoon episodes in comic form. And suddenly they're like, okay, we're going to tell our own story. Okay, we're going to do our own thing. And so they broke off from that and created their whole own timeline. And as you said, like the cartoon was becoming more and more comedic. It became more funny and less action oriented. These issues, these stories, they became more and more grown up as they went on. They totally went into a different direction there. They had the action, they had the drama, and like character development, and just like Slash. Slash is a very good example in my opinion, because when he first appeared, he was a bad guy. Then we found out that he was pretty much misunderstood. And in the end, he became a hero as he sacrificed himself. And so this whole character development that, as much as I love the classic cartoon, we did not get. Like Slash was always a stupid bad guy, which was fun, but these stories, they became really dark, but they had this continuity. They had this overall storyline where the Turtles had these adventures, and it became really gritty and dark after a while, and that's why I'm such a big fan. They really did their own thing with this. They, like, introduced so many characters, so many original characters that we find later that still exist in other versions, like Armagon, who later was a character in the 2012 show who was adapted there, and so on and so forth. So the TMNT adventures, sometimes you kind of get the feeling that they are overlooked, because when people talk about the comics, they talk about like, hey, classic Mirage Studios, or nowadays IDW Comics. But these comics, the main story, the main issues, in my opinion, they really deserve to be checked out. They really did their own thing, but they tell really great stories with action, with humor, and also a lot of drama. So in my opinion, if you have not read these comics before, give it a shot, check them out. They are really worth to be read as a TMNT fan.
And the thing, too, that I wanted to point out, because I think you actually mentioned this before, was this was the first color comics, right? Because most of the Turtle stuff we've covered so far have been in black and white. So
yeah, you're right, yeah.
So, well, that's going to do it here, guys. We've covered it all. Like we said earlier, we hope that you guys enjoyed our part of just giving you guys a taste, just a couple slices. But if you want to devour this whole, Archie pizza, feel free to check them out on your own. But Christian, in case they can't get to them yet and they want to hear some more comic talk for their holiday drives on Thanksgiving week over here in the States, where can they find more comic talk?
As I always say, if you want to hear more from me, check out my podcast, which is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, The Talk, which you can pretty much find on every podcasting platform or app, or just go to my website, TMNTTALK.com, where you can find all the newest episodes and all the social media stuff, where you can check out, like, I post funny pictures on Instagram and so on and so forth. So check it out. And if you want to hear more turtle stuff from my side.
All right. And one final question for you, just because it is Thanksgiving week over here. What are you most thankful for that the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles franchise as a whole has given to you? You just pick one.
It's a good question. And definitely, if I would not have been a part of the whole Turtle Mania start of the 90s and be a Turtle fan up to this day, I would be pretty much a different person, I think. Like, when I was younger, the Turtles even helped me because, don't want to go too sappy or anything, but I was more of an outsider in school. But the Turtles, they were always there for me, and because they are also outsiders, so I never felt alone, because I still had the Turtles. I had these comics, I had these episodes that I watched over and over again, and the Turtles, they were always there for me, and since I was a little kid, they never left me, and I'm really thankful that they entered my life, because, as I said, if they did not, I would be a very different person today. So I'm grateful for that.
Yep, same here. Real quick, I'll throw that right with you. They in some tough times, I would just pop on that original movie and it'd take my mind off everything. It was my way of escape. You know what? Some people go to, unfortunate things like either drugs or alcohol. Me, pop on a turtle movie and I'll feel better. I even watched them when I was sick. It was just it was my own little therapy. So it's cool to know that I'm not the only one who used them for therapy or just some reassurance that we weren't alone. And that's going to do it here, my dude. So like you always say, until next time.
Oh, cowabunga, my dude.
Another episode of Shellonomics is in the books. If you guys have not yet checked out all of our other amazing episodes, we've had amazing guests. We've talked about the 1987 cartoon, 2003 cartoon, Next Mutation, coming out of their shells, video games, the comics, crossover comics like Batman and the Power Rangers, and tons of amazing content with you guys, the fans. Be sure to stop by our YouTube channel, Spotify, and Twitch. And if you have somebody who'd like to be on the show, get in touch with us at kingmikedas@gmail.com. That's KINGMIKEDAS@gmail.com.